Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I am Jennifer with the Colleen Chamber, and today I'm joined by Abdul Subhani. We are here to talk to you about how to stay safe online while working from home. And Abdul is the president and CEO of Centex Technologies, which provides IT support to local companies. So this is something that he knows a lot about. And he was very interested in sharing his knowledge with all of us because, many of us have had to shelter in place and work from home. So these are a lot of good tips that hopefully will help you as you're, if you're just starting out or if you've been doing it for a while and you're still unsure of a few things. So Abdul, did you want to say anything before we jump into the questions?
Well, thank you, Jennifer. Appreciate the Chamber of Commerce for conducting these webinars, and I've been watching for the last couple of weeks. So you guys are doing a great job. So appreciate that, and thank you for hosting me today as well.
Absolutely. Thank you for being on. We do have some pre-prepared questions for Abdul, but if you have questions, feel free to add those into the comment section. We will try to get to them as they come in or at the end if we don't happen to see them. So with that, I guess we'll go ahead and get started. The first thing I kind of wanted to know, Abdul, is what are some of the most common mistakes people make when they start working from home?
Good question. What we have seen recently is that people do not have the proper equipment. So they do not understand exactly it needs to be a iPad that they need, or they need a laptop or a desktop. So depending on what kind of work that you are doing, that will makes a difference on that. Not having a designated workspace at home. Some people are working from their living room and other places. So having a desk that will help, and making sure that you're able to communicate with your team members, staff members via emails or telephone. Sometimes it's, and I'm one of them also, we are not able to schedule the tasks as we are staying at home. So we have the tendency of start watching TV sometimes and other places. So it will be a good idea to have a designated workspace. I think that will help a lot. As pertains to technology, I think it will be a good idea to find out from your work or from your clients what technology they're using and how you're able to get the files that you need to work on. So for example, if you're accessing the data from your server or at your work server, we need to make sure that you have a virtual private network, a VPN, or you are able to do it through a OneDrive from Microsoft or Google Drive to make sure that you have access to all those files easily. And then you can save them as well, and then you can share it with your staff members or the clients that you're working for.
Yeah, I know. For me personally, I'm not always great at designating one workspace. Like I'll have my kitchen table in my living room, so that's something I'm working on. But yeah, these are great tips, and I will say, when it comes to accessing files, I've found that downloading the file to my computer helps, so that it's connected to the cloud, but it's also accessible. I don't have to download everything I need. So that's been a pretty cool thing that's helped me out. Awesome. So what kind of equipment do people need if they're going to work remotely?
So like we discussed on the earlier question, that we can have, depending on what exactly your computer, your work is requiring you to have. If you have a laptop or you have a desktop, making sure that you have a reliable internet service, making sure that you are able to remotely access the company's internal network or intranet, whatever that can be for your organization, and making sure that you're able to access the emails. I think the biggest part with the employees nowadays is to making sure that they have all the tools necessary if they're accessing the emails through a web browser, which they were not used to doing it because they were having a local application like Outlook downloading the emails. So making sure that they're able to access those emails through a web browser, and they're able to share all the files and so forth. So I think it all really depends on how your company's infrastructure is set up. But now Microsoft and Google for the last 5 years or so have done a great job on putting all that data into one place. For example, Microsoft has the OneDrive. Microsoft also has Office 365, or now called Microsoft 365. That tools, they already have them integrated, so you do not have to worry about having 4 or 5 different platforms in order to do your job.
Yeah, we have a lot more tools available today than if this had happened, say, 5 or 10 years ago even. So in that way, it's a lot easier to work from home and find the tools that you need to communicate and share files, etc. So
I agree.
yeah. So what can people do if their equipment fails while they're working from home?
Well, it all depends what exactly the items can be. If the issue is the internet is not working, so making sure that you can contact the internet service provider. I understand that Spectrum, the local service provider, internet service provider, they have additional techs now for the last 30 days or so, making sure that the homes have internet service with no interruption, because they understand that everybody is working from home nowadays, or majority of the people, so they are able to fix the issues quickly. If you're having issues with the computer itself, or laptop itself, or desktop, making sure that you can contact the manufacturer or help desk if you have warranty with them. If you're depending on what the fault can be, or you can contact a local IT company to help you guys out. Also, majority of if you're working for a company, they will have a tech support that you can contact as well.
Great. And are these the kind of issues that your company helps with as well, if folks are looking for someone to do this kind of work?
That is correct. So we are small to medium-sized businesses. So if anybody who's needing help as an organization, our company provide technical support as well.
Awesome. Yeah, and always, check with your coworkers. Sometimes they may have similar issues they've encountered in the past too. Again, if you're just now tuning in, feel free to put any questions that you have in our comment section. If you have, want to expand on something we've talked about, or a completely different topic related to working from home, please let us know. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to know about was, what are some of the things folks should be aware of before they start working from home?
I think the first thing is to make sure that you have a reliable internet service, because nowadays you're pretty much not able to do anything if you do not have an internet service. I have also seen some customers, some employees are able to, if their internet service provider is not working, AT&T or any of the mobile service providers that they have, and they can do hotspot through their cell phone as well. If that is necessary for you to be able to do that, then you can able to do that as well, instead of waiting for Spectrum or your internet service provider to fix your home internet. Depending on what kind of softwares you're using. So if you're using a web-based software or something that you have to install, so difference between the web-based software is that you can go to a link and you're able to basically do all your work there. For example, Microsoft 365, you will be able to do a majority of those things on their own platform, so you do not even have to download any of the softwares. Do you have your, for example, if you are working for engineering firms, if you have your software, proprietary software installed on your computers, making sure that is already installed on your system before you can start working from home. You have access to the shared files that you really need in order to complete the tasks that your customers or your clients are needing for you to complete. You have access to the company file shares, meaning that you have data that companies wanting to share, that making sure that you're able to access that. Majority of the time, companies have virtual private networks that you can log into, and you're able to access it just like you're sitting on your office computer. It surely will look like that. So a lot of these things preferably should be checked and installed before you start working from home, so in that way you do not have any problems.
Yeah, absolutely. Ken has a question. There are lots of scams going on now associated with COVID-19. Any suggestions to better secure your system and yourself at home? And I know we're going to kind of get into some of that here in a few minutes. So I don't know if you want to touch on any of that now or if you want to wait and address
Let's
that.
wait. I think there's a couple of questions about that, so we'll just wait.
Yeah. Okay, great. So we've talked about kind of stuff that people need to know when setting up for working at home. But what kind of software will people need to secure their home network? A lot of times people don't think about that when they're starting this out.
That's correct. So number one application that everybody should have on their systems is an antivirus or anti-malware. If you have a Windows 10 system and above, Microsoft does give Windows Security, which is already installed on your system, so you do not have to worry about that. I mean, this will be something that you can check it through this slide if you're looking at the screen. Check the lower right of the computer for status to making sure that you have Windows Security installed and it is updated. So if you already have Windows 10 and above, you will already have that installed. The second one that a lot of people utilizes is Malwarebytes, and you can also install that on your system itself. It's free, and you can download that from malwarebytes.com. Virtual private network, I've mentioned a couple of times in the previous questions. Depending on how your organization is set up, you will have to connect to a local application. Once you get connected to that, then it will look like that you already have all the files. That is something that your organization's technical support people or IT people will be able to help you getting that information, how you will be able to get connected to the virtual private network. Making sure your passwords are secured. So you have a modem or a router installed on your at your house, making sure that you have changed the password on the router. If you have a router and a wireless access point, make sure that you have changing the passwords to just not for your access point itself, but also for in order to get into the access point or into the router, there's also a password for that. So majority of the time, people do not realize that in order to get into the router, there's also a password and a username in order to get to it to make those changes. And usually that is admin or admin password, and we forget to change that. So even though you have created a password for your wireless access point for somebody to log in, but in order to get that set up, the main router username password has been the default one. So making sure that you have changed that. Also, the routers nowadays also have firmware updates. That happens sometimes twice a year, depending on the manufacturer, maybe sometimes even more. Make sure that the firmware is getting updated. Because if they are not getting updated, then you will have a little lag in your router. It might be disconnecting your wireless connections and so forth. So, and it also makes the router secure from the threats that somebody is trying to log in to your routers and so forth. Making sure that you do not have an open guest network. When you buy a local router from any local store, Best Buy, Target, Walmart, and others, nowadays they all have guest networks. And those guest networks basically they are open. So anybody can log into it. So make sure that you have unchecked them. So make sure they're not enabled. And if you want to enable them, make sure that they also have passwords as well. So if a lot of people are working from homes, you can see when you're checking all the wireless access connections, Wi-Fi connections, you will start seeing all those names. And once those names will be a guest network, and anybody can click on it and see it. Now, the other thing which people do not realize that we all get excited to have a Wi-Fi access with no password. Well, you're able to log into it, but keep in mind, whoever's that network is, they are able to see you as well. With very limited hacking or technology knowledge, nowadays you can, if you are on their network, they can even look at what you're doing on your computer, meaning they can see your emails, maybe they can see your files, etc. So there's a lot can be done if you're logging into somebody's network without a password. So make sure that you're not logging into somebody's Wi-Fi unless otherwise you know that organization or that home that you're logging into.
So yeah, and probably don't look up sensitive information when you're on someone else's network too, just by default.
Exactly. So people should not be logging on to their bank accounts or anything, credit card account, so forth, because that can be they can get that information as well.
Yeah, that's probably not as big of a threat right now while we're all staying at home. But yeah, once people start going out again.
Sure.
And that's great advice for if you're just at the coffee shop or, you know, at a hotel and they give you a password, but people can still get in there and see what you're doing. So awesome. So let me check and see. Alyssa says G Suite is really great for that. I'm guessing she's talking about sharing files. I've heard good things about Microsoft Teams as well, going back to our discussion about ways to share information and everything with folks. So
that is correct.
That's a great tip. All right, so let's talk a little bit about, let's see, we just talked about the software we needed. So what are some steps that folks can take?
Jennifer, can you?
We still there?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you hear me? Sorry, Abdul.
No, I'm sorry. No,
yeah.
I didn't.
Okay, so I was asking, what are some steps folks can take to make sure they are safely working from home?
Right. So the other thing on the previous question, I'll go back for a second to make sure to let you guys know that the modem, router, Wi-Fi security password, this will be one of the screens. There's routers, there are different kind of routers. Everybody will look a little bit different. But this is one of the screens that you can see that you will be able to go log in and check the settings and making sure that which Wi-Fi security you have selected and so forth. I think what exactly discussed earlier, designate a work computer, creating a strong password. So make sure that you have a password on the computer when you're logging into the systems as well. Sometimes we forget to do that. If you already have a work computer, which is on a domain, Active Directory, then you will have to log in as a username password for that organization. Please do not allow others to use that system. So if you're already using that system to do the work, make sure kids and others are not downloading free games or free software, which will bring up some malware or viruses on your system as well. So try to not download any of those free and downloaded softwares onto your systems, which can harm your system as well. Making sure your antivirus is up to date. I think that's another thing which people think that, once we have it downloaded, that it, yes, majority of the time, it does automatically updates, but please double check those things as well. If you have a system which is managed by your technical support, IT people, then they are able to manage that remotely. It does not matter where you're at. They are able to, as long as you can get connected to the internet, it basically they can able to see you, and they will be able to manage that remotely as well.
Great.
Sure that your data that you are, sometimes you have to scan some documents and so forth. Make sure that when you're scanning that documents, you have all that data secured on your systems. So if it is something that you have downloaded and put it on your desktop, on your C drive, make sure to upload that into your shared network drive as well. So if something happens to your system itself, you still have that data saved onto your Google Docs or Microsoft OneDrive, or it can be to your VPN, to just to your shared folders. So try your very best to do not keep any data locally. So if something happens to your system, that you have not lost all that data as well.
Yeah, that's a great point. Especially when you're not using your work equipment, you've got to be careful with that. So while we're on the topic of security, is my client's personal and company information safe when I'm working from home?
Well, that's a very good question. So it all depends on how you are trying to protect yourself, right? So try your very best. So nobody can be 100% positive about it, that everything we are trying to do and everything is secure. As you can imagine or know, that all these bigger organizations, from Dell to Microsoft to Sony and others, they all got hit with cybersecurity issues. What you can do is, like we discussed on our earlier point, to making sure your antivirus is up to date, you have anti-malware installed, you are making sure that your passwords are protected, making sure that your routers passwords has been changed, your Wi-Fi access point password is strong enough, and making sure that your system is not getting utilized with 2-3 different people, because everybody has a different way of surfing the web, downloading documents, downloading softwares, and so forth. So I think it will be a great idea to have just one person utilizing that work computer, so you do not have any issues in that sense.
Yeah. Another security question that's come up from Robert: what about service providers that create a mesh network in an area utilizing modems placed in homes and businesses?
Right, very good question. Actually, Spectrum has started doing that, and that's great. Making sure that a lot of people, local students, I think they were trying to making sure that Clean Independent School District, Belton, and others, students are able to log in to the network. So yes, when you are making sure that you are connecting to the same network, the Wi-Fi access point that they have set up. So on their websites, they have posted that information. So make sure that you check that you are logging into that network and not anybody else's network. So because I understand they have done all the security precautions for that, for those networks itself, but there might be some other ones that they are not, or maybe they look the same, but it is not the same. So making sure that you're connecting to the correct network will be the best solution for that.
Awesome. Well, let's kind of shift now to talk about communications. It's difficult enough communicating in person a lot of times. So what are some methods you recommend when people are working remotely?
I think making sure that you're checking emails, making sure the text messaging, if you're doing messaging within the staff members or even with your clients, are getting done accurately, meaning that promptly getting replied back. Phone calls, a lot of companies are utilizing video conferencing. Mm-hmm. And we'll get into some of those software applications that a lot people are utilizing. Making sure those video conferencing softwares are, have you checked that to make sure they are secure? Have you checked with your technical support people or your IT people to making sure those video conferencing applications are the ones that you should be utilizing? And so there's a lot of Microsoft Teams is an application as well. Asana is another one that we as a company as well utilize as well, myself. That's basically a portal for communicating between your team members, having your reminders done. And it has a lot of capabilities to it, depending on what your organization can utilize. I think what we will see in the next few months that all these things in the last 60 days or so that we are able to do everything remotely. I think this will, for certain extent, will keep going because we have learned some really good things about it, like how we are able to communicate, manage, talk to our customers, clients remotely, and we are able to manage them remotely as well. And just having that communication open, I think that's what customers are actually looking for. I don't think they are more looking to have a physical contact with you, of course, for obvious reasons now, but they want to make sure that we, as for example, our tech support people, we are able to log into their systems and able to help them whatever they're needing. Of course, there are several times that we are not able to help them remotely because if their internet is not working or the system is not coming back up. But we are able to do almost, I will say, 85% of our support calls doing remotely.
Yeah, that's something we talked about before the call, was how this has really transformed the way people are communicating and working, and how in the future, a lot of the stuff we've taken for granted to go virtual will just be, we'll be able to do it a lot easier now.
Sure.
So we talked a little bit about video conferencing tools, and we've heard that, a lot of them have had some security issues. So what should folks look for when they are picking a software to make sure that it's secure, and kind of, do you have any suggestions one way or the other, or pros and cons, I guess?
So like I said earlier, nobody can be perfectly sure about a third-party vendor to making sure that they are totally secure about anything. But we, as a company, utilizes GoToMeeting and the Microsoft Teams for the remote management or conferencing and so forth. There are several others. Cisco has WebEx, Zoho Meeting, Join.me, Google Hangouts Meet, Skype, of course. They're all very well known organizations. Skype is also now, of course, a Microsoft product. Free conference. I know you probably everybody been hearing online about Zoom, the Zoom meeting. They had some security issues and so forth. So should we utilize it? Should we not utilize it? And so forth. Of course, the online version of it, they had issues. I mean, they admitted to it, that there were some security threats to it. They have fixed a majority of them as per Monday this week. But of course, people will be a little skeptical about it. Is that's going to happen again, or it will not happen again? But I want you to understand it that Zoom is still, for Department of Defense, they also have a Zoom instance of theirs of its own. So what that means is basically Zoom has given the entire software application there to DoD, to making sure that that is installed on their DoD servers, and so it creates its own instance. So no security breaches, no nothing like that will be going through Zoom's servers. It will be on the DoD servers. So as in whole for Department of Defense, Zoom is working, but as you can imagine, DoD consists of a lot of other agencies, organizations underneath it. For example, Department of Army, they are not able to utilize some of the Zoom meetings and so forth because they do not have their own instance. So if they're utilizing their own instance, then it is fine. But if it is not on their own instance, then they do not want US Army to utilize any of their staff members to utilize Zoom because of those security breaches. I personally will prefer, if you're a small to medium-sized business, if you already have Microsoft 365, to utilize Microsoft product for that. If you do not have that, then try to utilize GoToMeeting. I think it's very cost-effective, and you can utilize it for a lot of other reasons too, not just for the video conferencing, just for regular conference calls as well, and others. And it's been around for a while. Like we've been using it in our company for almost 10 plus years as well. So I think that would be good. If you're a big Cisco organization, which has Cisco phones and others, you will get very good pricing through Cisco WebEx. So I would recommend utilizing Cisco, because if you that will be great, because you do not have to pay any additional fees.
Yeah, I think that's an important point. It's showing or looking into what you may already have a subscription to or an account with. I know at the chamber we've been bouncing around trying to find the best program to do our internal meetings, and we already have several, but we're just trying them out to see what format we like best, what capabilities we need. Sometimes you want to be able to see everyone on the screen, or you want to be able to mute. So there's different things you need to think about. What am I going to have to be able to do during the meeting when you're going into it? So try several, I think, before you pick just one and pay a lot of money for it.
Correct. And majority
a lot of them do free trials as well, which is nice. So you can test it.
Right. Majority of them have the free trials for 1 week or 2 weeks and so forth, so you can test them out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's definitely been interesting learning about all these different platforms we never knew we wanted to know about until now.
I agree.
Okay, so let's talk digital scams, something that I'm sure a lot of folks are thinking about and that Ken's already brought up in the questions. Unfortunately, many people prey on others during crises like this, and we've seen a large number of the COVID-19 related scams emerge, whether they're via email, social media, or even text messaging. So can you talk about some of the most well-known of these scams, and also, kind of what people can do to protect themselves, I guess?
I think it goes back to before COVID-19 as well, is to making sure what exactly, when you receive an email or when you see something online, think about it before you clicking on it. I think that's a major thing about it. If you do not think about it before clicking, that will make an issue. For example, so when you see any kind of hyperlinks, make sure to just hover around your mouse and see what exactly that link goes to. So if you have something like http:// scam.microsoft.com, or something before, a subdomain before the main domain name, having a totally different domain name, or is it Microsoft spelled correctly or not spelled correctly? Just thinking about those minor things. We are seeing a lot of these well-known companies like Apple and others. They will buy domain names with theapple.com or something around before the main domain name. So then it will look like it is coming from them, but it is not. So when you will click on those links, majority of the time they have an executable which will start downloading something on your system. That will be a malware or virus or something, then that will affect your system as well. Making sure that seeing what information, so a lot of them, because of this loans and that government is giving out to small to medium-sized businesses, there's a lot of scams going on for that. Please download this application and you will be able to submit this. Well, majority of these forms, no government agency is sending out to you. You have to reach out to them. So think about those kind of things. If you're receiving something as in a PDF also, please do not open those PDFs. Because keep in mind, if you are utilizing your work computer, which is also connected to your virtual private network, and you're already connected to their shared folders and so forth, if you will get any kind of malware or any kind of virus, those can go to those shared folders as well, depending on how extensive that malware or virus is. So now you just not have corrupted or infected those files which are on your computer. You also have infected all those files on the network as well. So if somebody else is also utilizing those same files, now they will also get the virus or malware as well. So it is in your best interest to please think about when you're browsing online, who to click on, what to click on. I think that is something that you have to be thoughtful of, not just now, but anytime that you are online. Now, emails, you will start seeing a lot of phishing emails now on COVID-19. Please click here to receive a free mask. So those kind of things, then you're gonna start seeing. Please think about when you receive that email, why are you, what kind of email address that is? Is it a Gmail email address? So no government agency will send you an email through a Google email, Yahoo email. So I think these are the things that I think we need to keep that in mind before we click on it. Or they will have, please submit a form to receive something. Please do not put your personal information. No agency will be sending you a form to be submitting any kind of any of your personal information, like first name, last name, home address, your date of birth, and others. Recently, there was on Facebook and social media, it was going on that please post your high school picture and school you were graduated from. So a lot of people were posting their pictures, but they were also posting and letting everybody know their year that they graduated, high school that they have. Majority of us have a lot of passwords, which are through their school names or plus the graduation year that they graduated from high school. So then a lot of hack starts happening, because then they already know they can tell sometimes you can even tell what your date of birth will be if you're giving the high school graduation year or the name of the high school. Because nowadays all that data is available anyways. If you can go online and start searching, if you have a person's name and the school, you can go online and see it through their alumni association and others. So try to post stuff by thinking about it before posting it, to making sure that you're not giving too much information in social media, making sure that you're not giving out any personal pictures online, which states anything information about your home addresses and your children's birth dates and so forth as well. There's a lot of senior scams going on because of COVID-19. So make sure your parents, your grandparents are understand. They will be giving you calls to making sure that, hey, please provide us credit card information so we can send you masks and gloves and other things. That happened actually in Dallas County. About 40-something thousand calls went out in the last couple of weeks about those things. So try to be very careful about what information that you're providing, not just online, but also on the telephones and text messages. There's another thing which is going on is you will receive a text message, of course, from a it's a short code text message, so it's not a full telephone number, and it will say, please click here to download something. Please do not click anything unless otherwise somebody has told you that they will be sending that information to. because once you click on that link, you do not know what's going to be downloaded on your system, or it will ask you for further information like your first name, last name, addresses. Sometimes they're asking for last 4 digits of your social security number. So try your very best to think about it before providing that information.
Yeah, and these are all great tips, like you said, not just during COVID-19, but in general. Unfortunately, these scams kind of tend to pop up during these things a lot more, but they exist all the time, and folks, you know, should always be extra vigilant, I think.
Great. These are some other things that there are some quizzes, some online quizzes that they will send out information with. They will have a claim your stimulus check now. So please try to think about it before you are clicking any kind of links that you do not realize that it's coming from somewhere that you are expecting from, or from a government agency or a bank that you already know of.
Yeah, I think when in doubt, you can always Google, you know, what the email you got, and a lot of times you'll find other people have posted about it, or there's an article written about how this scam is a known scam, but you know, you're just being extra vigilant, or if you don't find anything, maybe it is legit, but going that extra step can't hurt. All right. So did you have anything else, Abdul, on the subject of scams and security in general? Folks, if you do have any more questions, we're getting close to the end, so this is your chance to ask, you know, an IT professional some security questions you might have when working from home, and things that you can do, maybe something we didn't address, so make sure you get those in there.
I think we just need to be very extra skeptical about when you're clicking any kind of suspicious links. Look at the source before clicking or before believing in the social media aspect as well. Website or other resources to do some fact checks, you know, online, or ask somebody before you start doing anything, or before you start clicking it. And I think all of us have at least done once or twice online on social media aspects of it. So try your very best to think about it before you click on any kind of links which is not something that you were expecting, or coming from a agency that gives you that information.
Absolutely.
And we got this information from a company online. I would say is the 9 tips for working remotely, and I think that's really, and I can provide this presentation as well to you, Jennifer, if anybody actually needs it, so they do not have to go through the entire presentation. So it tells you about the video, the eye contact, the online, the backup, the focus. You can pause it, the headset, the door space, all the working remotely tips are in this one slide. I think that will be helpful for people to also have. One thing I would like to add to it is the backup. So making sure that you are backing up your content, your data, all that information, because that is something, if you are not doing it on your computer, but you are connected to your VPN and so forth. So make sure that you're putting that information on that server, so you do not have to worry about it. Backing it up on your own.
Yeah, this is great, and it's a nice little kind of condensed version of everything we've talked about. So if you are interested in getting a copy of this slide deck, definitely let us know through the Facebook page, or you know, just comment on this presentation and we can get that to you. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions that have come in. So again, if you do have anything else, go ahead and send those to us now. Abdul, did you have anything else you want to add that maybe we didn't touch on, or you thought of as we were going through all this?
No, thank you very much for all you guys are doing at the Chamber. I think that's great that you're keeping still engaging with the members and the community. Folks, it's not just about COVID-19. We need to be secured online 24 hours a day, with or without what we're going through right now. I think we need to make sure when we're receiving emails, we're checking online to make sure that their email addresses is something that somebody you're waiting for or somebody you're expecting from before you're replying back to them or clicking on any kind of links. Making sure when you're online, surfing online, making sure that you are clicking on those links that you should be because you really want to see it. I think having antivirus and anti-malwares installed on your system does protect you, but they are still not 100% guaranteed that they will catch everything. Keep in mind, thousands and thousands of viruses and malwares are getting created, developed all over the world on a daily basis. So all these vendors, Microsoft, Symantec, McAfee, and others cannot update all of these viruses and malwares on a daily basis. They try their best, and we need to think about it in that way, that it is something that we as user has to think about it before we are clicking on any kind of outside links.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we have to even have this kind of a talk, but the bad guys are getting better and better and smarter every day, and we're cybersecurity folks are trying to keep up, but a lot of times, you know, it's like you're taking turns, kind of, I guess, one step ahead and then they get ahead. So that's why I think what you said, always be skeptical, always be vigilant, and try to just use common sense. You know, don't go clicking on random things. You wouldn't let someone come up to you and just hand you something and then walk away in person. So use the same mentality when you're online. Try to think through things. So awesome. Well, I'm not seeing any other questions, Abdul. So if we do get anything that comes through, we may shoot those.
Please do.
To you after the fact. If people want to ask, feel free to shoot your questions to us through the page or in the comment section. But thank you again for your time and for sharing this information. I think this helped a lot of folks, and I hope that if you are, you know, working from home, you're able to follow these guidelines and be safe. And happy Earth Day to everybody, by the way. So
all right, thank you. You're very welcome, and happy Earth Day to everybody as well.
Yes, have a good afternoon, everyone.
Thank you.